Welcome, everyone, to our special broadcast, where we delve into a pivotal question in education today. The central issue we are exploring is, do school voucher programs genuinely benefit students and schools? For clarity, school voucher programs typically involve government funding that parents can utilize to send their children to private schools, including religious or independent institutions, instead of their local public school. Joining us to debate this complex topic are Dr. Emily Carter, an education policy analyst who supports voucher programs, and Mr. David Miller, a public school principal who opposes them. We anticipate a robust and respectful discussion. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Sarah. I believe fervently that school voucher programs are fundamentally beneficial, primarily because they empower families with crucial educational choices. These programs foster a climate of healthy competition among schools, which, in turn, can lead to substantial overall improvements in educational quality across the board. My first point centers on enhanced parental choice and ensuring an appropriate student fit. Parents, I argue, possess the inherent right and are best positioned to choose the educational environment that optimally suits their child's individual needs, unique learning style, and deeply held family values. Vouchers provide this vital opportunity, making diverse schooling options accessible, especially for families who would otherwise be unable to afford private school tuition due to financial constraints. Secondly, the principle of competition is a powerful driver for improvement. When schools, both public and private, must compete for students and the funding that accompanies them, they are naturally incentivized to innovate their pedagogical approaches. This competition encourages them to enhance their program offerings and become more attuned and responsive to the specific needs and expectations of both students and their parents. My third point focuses on the tangible opportunities these programs offer to disadvantaged students. Vouchers can serve as a critical pathway for students from low-income backgrounds or those currently enrolled in underperforming public schools. They grant access to higher quality educational opportunities that might otherwise remain completely out of reach, thereby promoting greater equity in educational attainment. I am, of course, aware of the concerns often raised regarding the potential diversion of funding from public schools. However, it's important to understand that well-designed voucher programs can effectively mitigate these issues. Many programs are structured to ensure that public schools retain a portion of funding for students who opt for vouchers, or they are targeted specifically at students who are already struggling within the public system. Furthermore, the overarching benefits derived from increased choice, robust competition, and the subsequent improvements in educational standards often outweigh these financial considerations, ultimately benefiting the entire educational landscape.
Thank you, Sarah. While I respect Dr. Carter's perspective on choice, I must contend that school voucher programs are, in fact, detrimental to our broader educational ecosystem. My primary concern is that they divert essential, already strained funding from public schools, which are the bedrock of our communities and serve the vast majority of students. Furthermore, these programs often operate with insufficient accountability mechanisms and can unfortunately exacerbate existing inequalities within our society. Let's first address the critical issue of draining resources from public schools. Voucher programs inherently redirect taxpayer money allocated for public education away from the public system. The potential impacts are severe and manifold. We could see significantly larger class sizes, making individualized attention for students nearly impossible. We face reductions in funding for essential programs such as arts, music, sports, and vital special education services. Moreover, this financial strain makes it increasingly difficult for public schools to attract and retain highly qualified, experienced teachers who are the cornerstone of any effective educational institution. Secondly, there are significant accountability and transparency concerns. Private schools that receive voucher funds may not be subject to the same rigorous level of public oversight, transparency in operations, or standardized curriculum requirements that public schools adhere to. This can lead to serious issues regarding their admissions policies, which may not be equitable, the qualifications of their teaching staff, and the transparent reporting of student academic outcomes and progress. My third point addresses the very real potential for increased segregation, and what is often termed cream skimming. I am deeply concerned that voucher programs might inadvertently lead to heightened socioeconomic and even racial segregation. This can occur if private schools selectively admit students, effectively cream skimming the most advantaged or highest achieving students, or if the voucher amounts do not cover the full cost of tuition, transportation, and other associated fees, thereby systematically leaving disadvantaged students behind. Consequently, public schools may be left with an even higher concentration of students with greater academic, social, or economic needs, but with diminished resources to support them effectively. Finally, I seriously question the efficacy of these programs. The research on whether voucher programs consistently lead to significantly better academic outcomes for the students who use them is, at best, mixed and often unconvincing. And any marginal gains certainly do not justify the profound potential harm to the public system that educates every child.
Dr. Carter, Mr. Miller has just questioned the academic efficacy of vouchers. What does the research robustly show about improved academic outcomes for students using vouchers? And how do programs address concerns about selectivity by participating private schools?
That's a crucial question, Sarah. Several robust meta-analyses and longitudinal studies do indicate positive academic outcomes for voucher recipients, particularly for specific student subgroups, such as those from lower-income families or minority backgrounds. These gains are not always dramatic in standardized test scores initially, but they often compound over time. Regarding selectivity, many contemporary voucher programs incorporate mechanisms like lottery-based distribution to ensure fair access and counter such concerns. This means that when demand exceeds supply at a particular private school, students are chosen randomly, not based on prior achievement or other selective criteria. Furthermore, it's important to look beyond just test scores. Some research also points to long-term benefits such as higher high school graduation rates, increased college attendance and persistence, and greater parental satisfaction with their child's education, which are all significant positive outcomes.
Mr. Miller, Dr. Carter points to positive research and mechanisms like lotteries. How do you respond to these claims of academic benefits? And even if some students benefit, does that justify the potential systemic impact you've described earlier?
While Dr. Carter highlights certain studies, it's equally true that a significant body of research, including some large-scale federally mandated evaluations, shows mixed, negligible, or in some cases, even negative effects of vouchers on student academic achievement, particularly in mathematics. Methodological flaws can be found in studies on both sides, and it's often difficult to isolate the voucher effect from other contributing factors. The narrative of consistent, significant academic improvement is, I believe, an overstatement of the available evidence. And to your second point, Sarah, even if we concede that small groups of students might experience some benefit, and that's a significant if, the broader cost to the public education system, which is constitutionally mandated to serve all students regardless of background or ability, is simply too high. We cannot sacrifice the foundation for the few.
Dr. Carter, a quick response to Mr. Miller's point about mixed evidence.
While some studies are mixed, programs with strong accountability and targeted support often show clearer positive trends, especially in graduation rates, not just test scores. The narrative of failure is inaccurate.
Mr. Miller, Dr. Carter emphasizes graduation rates. Your brief thought?
Graduation rates are important, but we must ensure they reflect genuine learning and preparation, not just lower standards. The core issue of resource diversion from the majority of students remains my primary concern for overall societal benefit.
Mr. Miller, you've raised significant concerns about vouchers draining resources and negatively impacting equity. Could you elaborate on the specific ways this materializes and the direct consequences for students who remain in public schools?
Certainly, Sarah. When students use vouchers, public schools often see a direct decrease in per-pupil funding. This isn't abstract. It means fewer resources for those who remain. This can translate into larger class sizes, reduced ability to purchase updated textbooks or technology, and cuts to essential programs like arts, music, or even advanced courses that are vital for student development and engagement. Critically, we often see cuts to specialized staff such as counselors, librarians, or special education aides. These are personnel who provide targeted support to students, especially those with higher needs. Consequently, public schools can become more concentrated with students requiring intensive support, but they are expected to manage this with a diminished resource base, which is fundamentally inequitable and unsustainable for the system as a whole.
Dr. Carter, how can voucher programs be designed and implemented to genuinely promote equity and ensure true access for all students, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, rather than creating or worsening a two-tiered educational system?
This is a critical design challenge. Effective voucher programs prioritize equity by ensuring vouchers are means-tested, targeting low-income families. This immediately addresses the concern that vouchers might predominantly benefit wealthier families. Additionally, weighted vouchers can provide larger amounts for students with disabilities or special needs, making it viable for private schools to offer specialized support. This counters the idea that only certain students are attractive to private schools. Furthermore, providing adequate funding for transportation is essential, so choice isn't limited by geography. Comprehensive information campaigns are also key to ensure all eligible families, particularly those less connected, can access these opportunities. When these elements are in place, voucher programs can genuinely expand access to diverse educational environments, and the resulting competition can stimulate improvements in public schools too, benefiting all students.
Mr. Miller, Dr. Carter's proposed equity measures, are they enough to overcome the structural issues you see with funding?
They are positive steps, but often the funding levels for these measures don't match the true costs. The core problem of siphoning funds from the public system, which must serve everyone, remains a fundamental flaw.
Dr. Carter, your brief take on ensuring competition truly uplifts all schools?
Yes, if the system is designed to ensure baseline funding for public schools while fostering innovation, the focus should be on student-centric funding, where dollars follow the child to the school that best meets their needs, encouraging all schools to strive for excellence. In closing, I want to reiterate my core belief. We must empower parents and students with genuine educational choices. The reality is that a quote-fits-all approach to education is increasingly inadequate in our diverse and rapidly changing society. School voucher programs should not be viewed as an attack on our dedicated public schools. Instead, they are a valuable tool to foster educational pluralism, encouraging a variety of pedagogical approaches and school models to meet diverse student needs. I firmly reassert the argument that competition, when structured fairly and transparently, can be an exceptionally powerful catalyst for improvement across the entire education sector. This doesn't just benefit students who utilize vouchers. It also prompts public schools to adapt, innovate, and enhance their own offerings, ultimately leading to better outcomes for students who remain within the public system as well. It's about raising the tide for all. Therefore, I call for the serious consideration and thoughtful implementation of well-designed, targeted, and accountable school voucher programs. These programs must prioritize genuine student needs and focus on expanding opportunities for every child, especially those most underserved by current systems.
To conclude, I must reaffirm the foundational importance of a strong, universally accessible, and equitably funded public education system. This system is not merely a service. It is a cornerstone of a democratic and equitable society. Our primary focus, I contend, should be on adequately funding and systematically improving our public schools for all children. We must invest in what we know works within this vital public trust, rather than diverting precious and limited resources to private institutions through voucher schemes. I urge us to remember the significant risks: increased socioeconomic and racial segregation, reduced public accountability for taxpayer money, and the potential undermining of the core mission of public schooling if voucher programs become widespread. Let us not be swayed by promises of choice that may come at too high a cost to the collective good. The path to educational excellence for all lies in our shared commitment to public education. Therefore, I conclude by calling for sustained investment in proven strategies within our public system: smaller class sizes, better teacher training and support, equitable resource distribution across all schools, and comprehensive student services. This is how we ensure every child in every neighborhood has access to a high-quality education they deserve.
Dr. Carter, Mr. Miller, thank you both for your insightful and vigorous contributions to this important debate. You've given our viewers much to consider. We've heard compelling arguments. Dr. Carter emphasized parental choice and market-based improvements, while Mr. Miller championed the need for a robust, equitable public education system for all students. The complexity of this issue is evident, with valid points raised on both sides concerning student achievement, school funding, equity, and the very purpose of education in our society. We encourage our viewers to reflect on these arguments, conduct their own further research, and engage in informed discussions about the future of education policy in their communities.